When any political movement becomes big enough, it turns into a sort of inkblot test. People read into it what they want to see and sometimes what they want to fear. The Tea Party movement is getting big enough for people to start fighting over what it means. Is it a libertarian revolt? Is it confusion and anxiety over the economy? Is it merely personal animosity toward the president? Joining me now are David Webb, a radio commentator who has led Tea Party rallies right here in New York City, and Hillary Shelton, Washington Bureau Director of the NAACP, which is teaming up with none other than billionaire George Soros on a website aimed at marginalizing the Tea Party. Gentlemen, welcome here. Hillary, why has the NAACP started tracking and keeping an eye on the Tea Party movement?
What we started seeing is a trend across the country. As we moved into the healthcare debate, we saw all kinds of things going on, from swastikas painted on the sides of CBC members' offices back home in Georgia, to the spitting on of CBC members, name calling as members of Congress went to vote here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We started hearing stories from across the country. We started seeing signs appearing in websites showing very racially discriminatory language and other problems that were of deep concern to us. It really harkened back to a day when we had to actually watch other extremist groups, quite frankly, like even the Klan, the Nazi Party, the Posse Comitatus, and other groups, as they involved in very extremist activities.
But you know there can be crackpots in any organization. None of what you've stated is the policy or the leadership of any Tea Party, right?
Well, we have not seen that as being the policy of the Tea Party, but we have seen some of the Tea Party units actually being headed by those who are involved in other extremist organizations like the Council of Conservative Citizens that came out of the old White Citizens Councils, or even Minutemen that are actually providing extremist behavior as they go to enforce our nation's immigration laws and actually end up involving themselves in violence against people of Hispanic descent.
Got it. You are a leader of the Tea Party movement here in New York City. You are an African American. Are there racists in the Tea Party movement? Stated differently, is the organization racist?
The organization is not racist. There aren't that many racists in America. Let's take a look at who agrees with the principles. Are you telling me that almost two-thirds of America in some cases are racist? There are going to be people who attach themselves to things and have their views. They're minimal. There is not a trend. If you want to talk about trends, the majority of the people are not racist. That's the trend to pay attention to. And the selective condemnation of racism, which is what the NAACP does. When they do this, they don't condemn King Samir Shabazz, a clear racist, but they turn around and go after a few signs and tell the majority of Americans, you're bigots, you're racist.
Hillary, is George Soros, your benefactor in this particular venture, worried that too many people might vote for Tea Party candidates? We might actually have lower taxes and smaller government?
I don't know what George Soros feels. We haven't had a meeting with George Soros about this one way or another. The issue for us comes from the NAACP's policies that were actually designed and actually created by our members throughout the country, and was created on the issue of the Tea Party at our last convention in July in Kansas City, Missouri, as 2,200 delegates actually voted unanimously to call on the Tea Party to repudiate those racist elements from within.
When you speak at these Tea Party organizations, David, and I've been there and listened to you, and you call for things like smaller government, government staying within the confines of the Constitution, natural rights, sound money, does anybody comment to you that you're black? What are you doing here?
Actually, they do, and usually I get it from blacks on the far left who call me everything from Uncle Tom to traitor. I've been getting that my whole life. It's not new. If you don't hold within the walls that the NAACP has built around the black community, instead of breaking down those walls and helping the black community, they've now ascribed for years to this far left alliance, and this is about the elections. The NAACP, right here, in their own press release, says, this is Ben Jealous, and this is their written, prepared, and released.
Mr. Jealous is the director of the NAACP.
Ben Jealous, the president of the NAACP. Last night after my speech, and I like to be accurate, last night after my speech, I was approached by an African-American member of the NAACP and the Tea Party. He thanked me for speaking out because he has begun to feel uncomfortable in the Tea Party and wants to ensure that there will always be a space for him in both organizations. He referenced that gentleman with me on national TV as Chris. Right. When he wouldn't connect with Chris, Chris got in touch with me. So if I can read Chris's response.
Go ahead.
This is important. Here's my statement that I said to Ben the night of his reception. I told him, quote, I thank you for the speech, but not all Tea Parties are racist. We have blacks and Latinos in leadership, and when we see anybody who tries to bring in hate, we are quick to get them out. We want the NAACP to help us keep racists out. You mischaracterized somebody, and in fact, Ben Jealous never got back to me after he said he would meet with me and Chris.
Hillary, what's wrong with a black person being in the Tea Party?
Not a thing. As a matter of fact, when the Tea Party at its best is doing what is consistent with the American tradition, it means that people are involved at every level. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with diversity within the Tea Party. Our challenge is not diversity. Our challenge is when we see the extremist signs, the extremist messages, and the extremist behavior that's actually very anti-democratic and anti-American.
We'll be watching George Soros as he watches the Tea Parties. Hillary Shelton, David Webb, thanks very much for joining us.